Pirates fans, I know this season sucks, but there is something to get excited about right now, and the name is Bubba Chandler, who will join Paul Skeens in the rotation. He is the top pitching prospect in the organization, so let's talk about him. Little Baseball America prospect profile. Jesús, why don't you get us started here on what Pirates fans can expect from Bubba, who, of course, projects as a number one if he hits his ceiling, right?
Of course. I mean, what is there not to be excited about everything that Bubba Chandler has done in the minor leagues? And all of that has to partly do because of his upper 90s four-seam fastball, which saw significant improvement in 2024. And it kind of is one of the best fastballs in the entire minor leagues. Features high-end velocity, excellent extension, especially with his flatter playing from the vertical slot. And I mean, you see what he's been able to produce with his generating strikeouts, getting hitters to miss. And the other thing, too, that I feel like a lot of people tend to forget about, and if you're, just watching him for the first time, you can see a lot of athleticism there. Coming out of high school, too, he was committed to play quarterback at Clemson. And obviously the Pirates gave him a decent amount of money to kind of sway him from that option, even in the era of NIL, to come over for Pittsburgh and pitch in their organization. It's kind of been a really good find for them to be able to do that. So now that the opportunity is here to play in Pittsburgh, I think Pirates fans have plenty to be excited about, especially when considering there really hasn't been much to be excited about heading into the season.
Yeah, and I think you look at a guy like Chandler. You brought up a little bit about the fastball. Sits 97 to 98 miles an hour, touches 99, 100. As a starter, there's not a lot of guys that throw that hard, number one. But number two, you talked a little bit about the extension, a little bit about the plane. He has those characteristics in terms of, like, I always look at it from like checking three different boxes. Do you check the velocity box? Yes, he obviously checks that. Do you check the movement box on the fastball? He averages like 17 to 19 inches of induced vertical break on Hawkeye devices. So that's comparable to major league standards. We're not dealing with track man devices or devices in some of these minor league parks that aren't calibrated correctly. This is something that's calibrated a little bit more. So we know that those numbers are accurate. So he's getting like above average movement. And then the release height characteristics in terms of efficiency and where he releases it from is what creates that flat plane. That's what makes him unique. And the secondaries kind of just cascade off of that. He's found another gear with the slider this year. He still throws the changeup a lot more. That's really his preferred secondary is the changeup. I think that's easily plus. Plays well vertically and velocity wise in terms of the separation off of that fastball. But the quality of the slider has improved this year. It's another upper 80s, lower 90s pitch, more of a cut style, like gyro slider, but one that's going to generate a lot of swing and miss and sort of appropriate for a power pitcher like him. And then he'll break off a curveball as well in the mid 80s that has really good depth. So I think you look at this, he's a guy that has the great fastball characteristic. He has the swing and miss secondary in that changeup, which obviously gives him an advantage in sort of offhanded matchups. The other part of it is he throws two different breaking ball shapes and can give you that variety. There's just not a lot of guys that check all those boxes, have the big league body, the pedigree, all that sort of stuff. So Chandler's one that, I think could walk right into a rotation and be a true number two next to Skeens. We said it this offseason, we got some hate about Jared Jones being the number two, but I think when you see the body of work and just the arsenal, he's a true number two.
Yeah, and Geoff, I mean, they are producing some serious talent. Of course, it helps to, get high draft picks like Paul Skeens at 1-1. So I do want to weigh that part of the scenario as well. But yeah, to nail it with Bubba Chandler and Jared Jones is a success. He's hurt right now, but he was a very good rookie pitcher last year for Pittsburgh. Going back to Bubba and his progression, I know you touched on it. Yeah, the changeup's been there. It's been a lead, and the variety is brought to the fastball. How much have you seen that development of the breaking stuff now that's turned him into this complete pitcher? Because, at one point I remember I was reading an older scouting report, and they're like, this could be the next Michael Wacha when he was first entering the league because it's the fastball changeup combination. Can he get pitches 3 and 4 to become a true ace?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just some of the internal stuff that player development's been doing with the Pirates over the last couple of years. On the hitting side, that's a totally different conversation for another time. On the pitching side, they've done a lot of good stuff. Some of the stuff that I've heard just behind the scenes in terms of the things they're doing with understanding grips and just the sort of things, finger strength wise, et cetera, that guys can do with certain pitches and certain shapes based on their own personal characteristics, I think is really interesting. And we've seen a lot of guys improve their arsenal and add maybe that third pitch or a new pitch in, Skeens' case that really unlocked a already very, very good arsenal and a very talented pitcher. So I think you sort of look at some of those things and it's been a nice progression. The other part of it too is, as Jesús alluded to, he was a two-way guy. So, was hitting a little bit at the beginning of his pro career, was also a multi-sport standout, a guy who was a legitimate football prospect as well. And just, being a professional and, not being a student, I think all those things combined allow him to really spend time and hone his craft and focus all of that ability and athleticism into just learning this one craft. So far, so good, as we've seen a lot of improvement, not just with the secondaries, honestly, with the fastball as well. This is a better fastball than the one Bubba Chandler was throwing when he first entered pro ball.
Yeah, very impressive. Very impressive looking prospect. Jesús, do you feel the same way where you're expecting some immediate success for him? And also, do you think that Pirates fans can look at a glimmer of hope here in a starting rotation, at least, that can really carry them? Like Geoff said, the offense, we don't have time to hit that right now, okay? You should watch Hot Sheet or listen to it or subscribe to Baseball America or do all of those things, because we certainly get to that at times. We want to focus on the good for now. But what do you think about the way that the Pirates are developing a long-term rotation right now?
I think it's really impressive, and I think it says a lot, too, that, Bubba Chandler is one of the top prospects, pitching prospects in all of baseball, and he's going to be a number 2 guy when he gets up to Pittsburgh. And I think this just really shows with what they've been able to develop, not just with them, with Jared Jones. And we also saw a Hunter Barco, kind of riding a really good wave of momentum before he landed on the injured list in his promotion to AAA. But I think one thing, too, I've been able to have conversations with Bubba Chandler in the past when I was writing a story about him. And I think one thing that really stood out to me when interviewing him was when I asked guys about, what's your matchup? What do you think? What do you think about heading into this? A lot of guys go towards routine. One thing that really stood out to me is he treats it like a game of chess, not checkers, chess. And I think that really stood out to me because it shows the maturity that he's been able to develop since then. Because when he first came on, the big issue with him was he was inconsistent on the mound. In 2024, we saw the strike percentage, develop slightly a little bit more. Now it's like on another level too. So I think, what Geoff alluded to earlier, he was put in an environment where he's able to succeed, focus on just baseball, not everything else that's going on. And it's kind of helped him develop into that pitcher right now. So, if I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, sucks to rag on it so much, but there hasn't been much to be excited about. But with Bubba Chandler, with Paul Skeens, and then potentially down the road, Jared Jones too, once he's healthy enough, this is going to be an excited big 3 that's going to happen in Pittsburgh at that starting rotation.
I'm with you. Pirates fans, get excited. Enjoy the ride for now. I know, like I mentioned at the top of this little segment, that this has been another brutal year. But if you want a little hope, look at nailing high-level draft picks, developing pitching, and hopefully building yourself a young, and for Pirates fans, this is important, cheap rotation, since your owner certainly isn't interested in the free agent market. So you've got to build from within. That is what they're trying to do. So enjoy the debut of Bubba Chandler, and welcome to the show.